and slightly better leaders. We have Ingo leading us. We don't have Theresa May and anyway. I want to hear a lovely London welcome, giving us some comedy, all the way from New York. Please give it up for Hannah Simpson.
Hi everybody, I'm Hannah Simpson, coming in from New York. This is my European debut. And next week I can go to mainland Europe and have my European debut. So, pardon me if I pace a little bit, I'm just hatching some pokey eggs. So, I am a transgender comedian from New York City. And I will not change who I am for anyone. Except perhaps my parents. When I first came out to them and explained all of this, I wasn't sure if they'd let me back in their house. And I said to them, listen, there's more and more of us out there. We're starting to get serious roles in theater. We're becoming celebrities. We're being taken as normal by mainstream Americans. The world is becoming a much more hospitable place for us. My mom said, Hannah, wear whatever the fuck you want when the family's around, just don't tell them you're a comedian. Like I said, coming out was hard. So, Cursed Child, has anyone seen that yet? The play, gotten the book yet? See, I came here to Britain, I was really thinking for the next installment that J.K. Rowling would be on the progressive end and show us maybe a positive young wizard or witch in transition in gender. Yeah. But alas, seeing as the book is filled with, speaking to snakes, turning into animals, flying on brooms and in telephone booths and the occasional sedan, it's clear she wanted to stick to plausible situations. So we'll just have to wait. That's a joke for all those people who think trans doesn't exist. So, another interesting thing about being here in Britain was driving on the other side of the road. I hired a car, that means rented a car to me, and just to try it out. And I thought it was a great allegory to being trans, honestly. Because here I am doing something from the opposite perspective, looking out at how everyone else might have done it, realizing it's as natural to you as it was to me to be on the right side of the road, to be on the left side of the road. But the difficult part, as I realized, was passing. Because I'm used to keep right past left. And now it's keep left past right. And I had a lot of trouble passing. So then I realized, you know what? Fuck it, I'm gonna pass any way I want. I'm trans, I'm here, I'm here. Until the officer pulled me over, a lovely chap, said, Hannah, darling, don't you know how to ever check your privilege? But I have to admit, the officers here that I've encountered so far have been wonderful. Did you know that in England, in London especially, the police officers, most of them don't even carry guns? I mean, that must explain in part why the streets are so, what's that word? Multiracial, as compared to
Oh my God.
Sorry, another privilege joke. Are there any bisexuals in the room tonight? You guys gotta make some noise because you're invisible. And that's not just the lights. But seriously though, I'll be perfectly honest, I didn't actually hire a car, I do want to. When you want to get around here in London, it's clear you take public transport. You ride the Oyster. Right? You know, like Oyster card, you ride the Oyster? See, I've got something like an oyster, myself actually. I call it my clam. It's like the oyster, but it's not like the oyster. It's not contactless. It's definitely not contactless. You can't just put your hand near it with the card. This doesn't work with the clam. You have to swipe. It's It's like the Metro card where I come from in New York. You have to swipe the clam. Sometimes repeatedly. It doesn't always go through the first 50 times. Would anybody here like to swipe my clam? Anybody? I knew that wouldn't work. My therapist keeps telling me I should be less shellfish. So, it's pretty clear that we're into the vagina part of the show. And being a transgender comedian, I'm very open about these things. In fact, I blame my sister for a lot of my problems. You see, about 2 years ago in the spring, she bought herself a puppy. So to keep up with her, I bought myself a pussy in the summer. Now, when you're conditioned as a cisgender male growing up, you're kind of taught that, You're kind of taught that vagina shouldn't be something you have to pay for. That if a vagina's worth getting, it should be for free, right? Now, first of all, that's bullshit. Sex work is real work. And I'm not going to judge anyone in how they use their body, how they market themselves, what they feel is safe, as long as they're being safe and there's ways to protect them with the law. In this country or any other country, I think that's super important. But the one thing I do specify is, when you are buying a vagina, you're buying the entire kit and caboodle. So at least get to know the woman's first name, be sure that you like her, because you're stuck with her. And see me, I learned this the hard way, because I spent 20,000 clams on this vagina. Yeah, we don't have NHS in America. And I don't even like the woman it's attached to. She's bitchy, she's short, and she does not bear a passing resemblance to Emma Watson. As much as everyone hopes. So that was sort of interesting. But, you know, it does lend yourself to a lot of jokes, because the moral of the story is, when you can't laugh about being transgender, you run out of tears. It's true. You really have to look on the bright side of things. You know, I was talking to my mom once, and she asked me to do something. I was home recovering from surgery, and she wanted me to do something that required a little bit of thought. You know, like empty the dishwasher or whatever it was. I said, Mom, give me a break. I'm only working with one brain now. She said, Hannah, you only had one to begin with. Thanks, Mom. You're saying I have none? Let it sink in. Let it sink in. That was a penis joke snuck in there with the vagina jokes. It's like before I had my surgery, I actually got a tattoo. It was Waldo. I put him on my willy. That way when he got flipped inside out, if anyone asked me, where's Waldo? Why don't you go find him? I did I'm trying to use British parlance, like willy. So instead of flashlight, I stuck a torch in my vagina once just to see what that felt like. In the middle of the night, it was pretty good at attracting wasps, but it didn't help much with Jewish men. So, I'm going to share with you one more thing that I realized about vaginas, which is when you have one installed, you're basically left with an open wound in your crotch. It's not really something you think about until it happens, but I needed something to cover this wound, like a bandage, you know? Something that would be kind of padded, something that would be absorbent of anything that would be coming out of it, something that was contoured to the inside of my legs, maybe about this size, something that would maybe stay in place with an adhesive and be as discreet as possible. So, I went to the local convenience store in America, we'll call it CVS, because you guys have no idea what that means, Boots. And I go to the side of the aisle where I think there might be something, and holy shit! Turns out bleeding out of your vagina is a thing. I never realized how many women out there had gender reassignment surgery. What else could it possibly be? So, of all these different things that there were there, I realized that being conditioned as a male, there were generally 3 categories of padding products. Okay? So there were the posh pads, the ones with the fancy packaging and the instruction manuals that made you feel like you could be all sophisticated as you're walking down the West End, what we call Broadway, fashionista with your pad. There were the sporty pads, the ones that made you think you could win the ball game or the cricket game. 3, 2, 1, strike! With your pad. And then there were the ones that bundled you up, you know, from all sides, kept you all plugged up like a big old baby. But at the end of the day, I realized it's a false choice. It's just a lot of choice to really have none as a woman, because posh, sporty, or baby, whichever you pick at the end of the day, they all end up ginger and scary. Thank you very much.